Helaena Targaryen might just be the most tragic character in all of Fire and Blood. While the rest of House Targaryen fought over power, crowns, and the Iron Throne, Helaena wanted none of it. She wasn't a conqueror, she wasn't a politician, and she certainly wasn't the one driving the Dance of the Dragons. Yet somehow she became one of its greatest victims. And by the end of her story, it's honestly impossible not to feel sorry for her. Born in 109 AC to King Viserys I Targaryen and Queen Alicent Hightower, Helaena grew up as a quiet and gentle princess, completely different from most members of her family. She preferred peace over conflict, and despite being surrounded by endless political tension inside the Red Keep, she never seemed interested in playing the game. At just 11 years old, Helaena became the Rider of Dreamfire, one of the oldest and most magnificent dragons still living. It was an incredible honor, and the bond between Helaena and Dreamfire would remain one of the strongest parts of her life. Then, in 122 AC, following the ancient traditions of House Targaryen, 13-year-old Helaena married her older brother, Prince Aegon. It was a political marriage more than anything else, and before long the couple welcomed twins, Prince Jaehaerys and Princess Jaehaera. A few years later, their family grew once again with the birth of Prince Maelor. Looking back, those were probably the happiest years Helaena would ever have. In 127 AC, King Viserys celebrated his recovery from illness with a grand feast. According to Mushroom, after the king left the celebration, Prince Jaehaerys Velaryon asked Helaena to dance. It may not sound like much, but Aegon reportedly took offense to it, showing that tensions within the royal family were already beginning to boil beneath the surface. Just before Viserys' death, Helaena brought her 3 children to visit their grandfather one last time. The old king entertained them with stories about King Jaehaerys I Targaryen, completely unaware that this would be the final evening he would ever spend with them. Then everything changed. When King Viserys I died in 129 AC, the realm was immediately thrown into a succession crisis. Instead of recognizing Princess Rhaenyra as the heir chosen by Viserys, the Greens crowned Prince Aegon as King Aegon II, making Helaena the new queen of the Seven Kingdoms. Alicent Hightower herself placed the crown upon her daughter's head, calling her "my queen." Rhaenyra, of course, crowned herself on Dragonstone and declared Alicent and Sir Otto Hightower traitors. But interestingly, she was still willing to forgive Helaena and her brothers if they came to Dragonstone and swore fealty. Grand Maester Orwell proposed sending a peace embassy, and Helaena immediately supported the idea alongside her mother. Honestly, moments like this make it clear that Helaena never wanted war. She was probably one of the very few people trying to avoid it. Quick interruption. If you're enjoying the video so far, don't forget to subscribe because we're only about to get to the most heartbreaking part. Now, let's continue. After Prince Aemond killed Prince Lucerys Velaryon above Shipbreaker Bay, Daemon Targaryen decided revenge was inevitable. He hired 2 assassins, remembered forever as Blood and Cheese, and sent them into the Red Keep with one simple mission: kill one of Aegon and Helena's sons. The 2 men knew Helena's nightly routine. Every evening she brought her children to Alicent's chambers before putting them to bed. Blood and Cheese slipped inside, tied up Alicent, murdered her bedmaid, and waited for Helaena to arrive. Once she entered the room with Jaehaerys, Jaehaera, and Maelor, the nightmare began. After killing her guards and locking the doors, the assassins forced Helaena to choose which of her sons would die. She begged them to kill her instead. They refused. Then they threatened to rape Princess Jaehaera and murder all 3 children if she refused to make a choice. Completely broken, Helaena finally named Prince Maelor, believing he was too young to understand what was happening. But Blood and Cheese had no intention of honoring her choice. Instead, they grabbed Prince Jaehaerys and beheaded him with a single swing before escaping into the night. I genuinely think this is one of the darkest moments George R.R. Martin has ever written. Helaena never recovered from that night. She fell into a deep depression, stopped eating, stopped bathing, and rarely left her chambers. She couldn't even bear to look at Prince Maelor anymore because every time she saw him, she remembered choosing him to die. Her marriage to Aegon effectively ended, and after he was gravely wounded at the battle at Rook's Rest, Helaena didn't even visit him. She also became incapable of riding Dreamfire into battle. The trauma had simply destroyed her. When King's Landing eventually fell to Queen Rhaenyra in early 130 AC, Helaena became a prisoner. Then another devastating blow arrived. Prince Maelor was killed at Bitterbridge and his head was sent back to King's Landing. The chroniclers disagree on how Rhaenyra reacted. Mushroom claims she wept, while Septon Eustace insists she smiled before ordering the prince's remains cremated according to Targaryen custom. Either way, rumors quickly spread that Rhaenyra had Maelor's head delivered to Helaena in a chamber pot, fueling even more hatred throughout the city. Only days after the battle above the God's Eye, Helaena reached her breaking point. She threw herself from a window in Maegor's holdfast and died instantly on the spikes below. She was only 21 years old. At that exact moment, Dreamfire suddenly snapped two of her chains inside the dragon pit and let out a roar powerful enough to shake the entire building. I've always loved that detail. Whether it was coincidence or something more, it almost feels as though Dreamfire sensed that Helaena was gone. To this day, nobody knows exactly why Helaena took her own life. Mushroom blamed Rhaenyra and Mysaria through his infamous brothel queen story, but Archmaester Gildane dismisses it entirely. Grand Maester Munkum believed the horror of the executions inside the Red Keep pushed her over the edge, while Septon Eustace claimed Mysaria personally told Helaena the terrible details of Maelor's death that same night. Once again, Gildane questions that version as well. The truth is that no one can say for certain, but the rumors surrounding Helena's death changed everything. By nightfall, much of King's Landing believed she had actually been murdered. The city erupted into riots as thousands demanded justice for the beloved queen and her murdered children. Before long, the enraged small folk stormed the dragon pit where Dreamfire was ultimately killed. Even after the dance ended, Helena's story wasn't truly over. In 131 AC, her surviving daughter Jaehaera married King Aegon III Targaryen to help bring peace between the Blacks and the Greens. But just 2 years later, Jaehaera herself died after falling from a window in Maegor's holdfast onto the spikes below. Officially, it was ruled another suicide, although many believed she had been murdered. With Jaehaera's death, the bloodline of King Aegon II and Queen Helaena came to an end. Looking back at Helena's life, it's hard to think of another character who suffered so much while wanting so little. She never chased power, never sought the Iron Throne, and never chose this war. Yet she lost nearly everything because of it. If any character in Fire and Blood deserved a better ending, it was Helaena Targaryen. Thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, subscribing is one of the best ways to support me and help me make more A Song of Ice and Fire videos. Don't forget to let me know in the comments which character you want me to cover next. See you in the next one.